The crystal chandelier cast perfect light across the marble lobby as Naomi Bennett stood behind the reception desk, her burgundy silk blouse crisp against her brown skin. She had handled every kind of guest during her 8 years managing the Grandview Hotel. Celebrities demanding discretion. Bridezillas throwing tantrums. Corporate executives expecting miracles. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared her for the moment when her husband walked through those gleaming glass doors with another woman on his arm. Sterling Hayes looked different somehow. His navy suit was the same expensive brand he always wore. His confident stride was familiar. But the way his hand rested on the small of this stranger's back, the intimate angle of his head as he leaned down to whisper something that made her laugh, that was new. That belonged to someone else now. Naomi's heart slammed against her ribs. Her vision blurred for a second before training kicked in. She was at work. She was a professional. She was the manager of a 5-star establishment where composure was currency. The woman beside Sterling was beautiful in a calculated way. Sleek black dress, designer heels, hair that looked like it required a team to maintain. Her laugh carried across the lobby, bright and careless, completely unaware that she was walking into a nightmare. Sterling approached the desk, his phone in hand, scrolling through something with practiced disinterest. He hadn't looked up yet. Hadn't seen her standing there in her usual spot, the place she'd been for the past 6 years, managing the hotel that had become her second home. Naomi's hands moved automatically, pulling up the reservation system. Her fingers knew these keys better than anything. She could check someone in during a fire drill if she had to. Muscle memory took over when her mind threatened to shut down. The woman reached the desk first. "Reservation for Hayes," she said, her voice smooth and entitled. "Sterling Hayes." That was when Sterling looked up. The color drained from his face so fast Naomi thought he might collapse. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. His phone slipped from his fingers, clattering against the marble counter. The woman beside him turned, confused by his sudden paralysis. Naomi smiled. It was the same smile she used for every guest, warm and professional and completely empty of real emotion. She had perfected this smile over years of dealing with difficult people. Today it became armor. "Good evening, Mr. Hayes," Naomi said, her voice steady and clear. "Welcome to the Grandview Hotel. I hope you enjoy your stay, sir." Sterling's hands gripped the edge of the counter. His knuckles went white. "Naomi." The woman's head snapped toward him. "You know her?" "I'm the hotel manager," Naomi continued, her fingers moving across the keyboard with mechanical precision. "I see here you've booked our executive suite for 3 nights. That's one of our finest rooms. You'll have a wonderful view of the city." "Naomi, I can explain," Sterling stammered, his voice cracking. The woman looked between them, her designer bag sliding down her arm. "Sterling, what's going on? May I see your identification, please?" Naomi asked, her eyes fixed on the computer screen. She couldn't look at him. Not yet. If she looked at him directly, she might shatter. Sterling fumbled for his wallet. His hand shook so badly he dropped it. Credit cards scattered across the marble floor. The woman bent to help him, her movements sharp and annoyed now. "Here," Sterling managed, shoving his driver's license across the counter. Naomi picked it up, her fingers steady even though everything inside her was screaming. Sterling Michael Hayes. The same address as hers. Their address. Their home. The place she'd left this morning after kissing him goodbye, after reminding him to pick up milk on his way home from his supposed business trip. "And your companion?" Naomi asked. The woman straightened, her eyes narrowing. There was something in Naomi's tone now, something that made her stiffen. "Veronica Cross." Naomi accepted the second ID, processing both with the same efficient movements she'd made thousands of times. Name, address, credit card. The system beeped its acceptance. Room keys emerged from the printer. "You're all set," Naomi said, placing 2 key cards on the counter. "The elevators are to your left. Your room is on the 14th floor. Breakfast is served from 6 to 10 in the restaurant just past the lobby. If you need anything during your stay, please don't hesitate to call the front desk." "Naomi, please," Sterling whispered, his voice breaking. She finally looked at him. Really looked at him. The man she'd married 7 years ago. The man who'd promised forever in front of her mother, her friends, their families. The man who'd held her through her father's funeral. The man who apparently needed a hotel room to sleep with someone else. "Enjoy your stay," Naomi repeated, her smile never wavering. Veronica grabbed the key cards and her ID, clearly wanting to escape the strange tension that had settled over the counter. "Come on, Sterling." But Sterling didn't move. His eyes were locked on Naomi's face, searching for something. Forgiveness maybe. Understanding. Some sign that this could be explained away. Naomi's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen. A text from her assistant manager about a plumbing issue on the 3rd floor. Normal hotel problems. The kind she could fix. "If you'll excuse me," she said, stepping back from the counter. "I have other matters to attend to. Robert will be happy to assist you with any questions." She turned and walked toward her office, her burgundy heels clicking against the marble with the same measured pace she always used. Not too fast. Not running. Just a hotel manager attending to her duties. She made it to her office, closed the door, locked it, walked to her desk, sat down in her leather chair, placed her phone on the desk surface, folded her hands in her lap, and then she allowed herself exactly 60 seconds to feel everything. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. 7 years. 7 years of marriage. 10 years together total. A decade of her life given to a man who thought so little of her that he'd bring his mistress to her workplace, to her hotel, to a place where she had authority and respect and a reputation she'd built from nothing. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Not here. Not at work. She'd cried at work once, 6 years ago when her father died. She'd locked herself in this same office and sobbed until Janelle had found her and held her. She wouldn't cry for Sterling. He didn't deserve her tears. Her phone buzzed again. The plumbing issue needed her attention. A wedding party was checking in at 6. A corporate group had special dietary requirements for tomorrow's breakfast. Life continued whether her marriage was falling apart or not. Naomi stood, smoothed her blouse, checked her reflection in the small mirror by her filing cabinet. Her mascara was intact. Her lipstick was perfect. Her face showed nothing but professional calm. She opened her office door and stepped back into the lobby. Robert was checking in, an elderly couple, his voice warm and attentive. The evening shift was arriving, clocking in at the back station. Everything ran like clockwork because she'd built systems that worked whether she was falling apart or not. The elevator dinged. Sterling and Veronica stepped out, room key in hand, heading toward the bank of lifts that would carry them up to the suite. Their suite. The one Naomi had personally designed last year during the renovations. The one with the marble bathroom and the king bed and the view that had made several magazines. Sterling's eyes found hers across the lobby. She saw him mouth her name. Naomi smiled at him again. That same professional, empty smile. Then she turned to help a guest who was struggling with their luggage, her attention shifting as if Sterling was just another stranger passing through her lobby. Because that's what he was now. A stranger who happened to be destroying her life. A guest who would check out in 3 days and hopefully never come back. And Naomi Bennett, hotel manager, would still be here. Still standing. Still professional. Still herself. Just without him. Naomi sat in her office long after her shift should have ended. The hotel hummed with its usual evening rhythm. Guests returning from dinners, couples heading to the bar, the night staff settling into their routines. Everything normal on the surface while her world cracked beneath her feet. Her computer screen glowed in the dim light. She pulled up the reservation details for Sterling Hayes and Veronica Cross. The booking had been made 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks of planning this trip while he'd kissed Naomi goodbye every morning. 3 weeks of lying. She scrolled through the payment information. Sterling's credit card. The one linked to their joint account. He'd used their money to pay for this betrayal. The executive suite cost $800 a night. $2,400 for 3 nights of cheating on his wife in her own hotel. Naomi's hands trembled as she opened a new document. She began taking screenshots. The reservation. The payment details. The data was booked. Everything saved to a secure folder on her personal laptop. Evidence had power, and she was going to need every piece she could gather. Her phone buzzed. Janelle's name flashed across the screen. "Tell me you're okay," Janelle said the moment Naomi answered. "How did you know?" "Robert texted me. Said you looked like you'd seen a ghost at the front desk earlier." Janelle's voice was tight with concern. "What happened?" Naomi closed her eyes. "Sterling checked in tonight. With a woman." The silence on the other end lasted exactly 3 seconds before Janelle exploded. "That piece of garbage did what? At your hotel? Are you kidding me right now?" "I checked them in myself." "Naomi, no. Please tell me you didn't have to stand there and process their room while he—" "Executive suite. 3 nights. Paid for with our joint credit card." "I'm coming over there right now." "No." Naomi straightened in her chair. "I'm still at work. I need to finish some things. But can you come by my house later? Around 10? I'll be there at 9:30. Have you called a lawyer yet?" The word lawyer hit Naomi like cold water. This was real. This wasn't a nightmare she'd wake up from. This was her life now, the kind that required legal intervention. Not yet, Naomi admitted. I'm texting you Rebecca Ford's number right now. She handled my cousin's divorce last year. She's tough and she doesn't mess around. Call her first thing tomorrow? Naomi heard typing on the other end. A moment later, a text came through with a phone number and the words, "Call her. She will destroy him." "Thank you," Naomi whispered. "Don't thank me. Just promise me you're not going to try to handle this alone. You have people who love you. Use us." After hanging up, Naomi sat staring at the contact information for Rebecca Ford, attorney at law. Tomorrow she would call. Tomorrow she would start the legal process of dismantling her marriage. But tonight she had work to do. She pulled up the hotel security system. As manager, she had access to all camera feeds. It felt invasive watching the footage, but she needed to know the truth. Needed to see what she was dealing with. The timestamp showed 6:47 p.m. Sterling and Veronica entering the lobby. The way he held the door for her. The familiarity in their movements. They'd done this before, Naomi realized. This wasn't their first trip together. She fast-forwarded, watching them check in, watching Sterling's face drain of color when he recognized her. Watching Veronica's confusion. Then their awkward retreat to the elevators. Naomi saved that footage too. Backed it up to 3 different locations. If this divorce got ugly, and she suspected it would, she wanted documentation of everything. Her office phone rang. The front desk. "Manager Bennett, there's a call for you on line 2. A Mr. Hayes." Naomi's stomach clenched. "Tell Mr. Hayes I'm unavailable. Forward all his calls to voicemail." "Of course, ma'am." She hung up and immediately her cell phone rang. Sterling's name lit up the screen. She declined the call. He called again. Declined. A text message appeared. "Sterling. Please Naomi, we need to talk." "Sterling, I know how this looks but I can explain everything." "Sterling. Please answer the phone." "Sterling, I love you." Naomi blocked his number. The silence that followed was immediate and complete. She turned back to her computer, accessing their shared credit card statements. She'd been meaning to review them for months, but work had been busy and she trusted Sterling to manage their finances. Stupid. So stupid. The charges told a story she'd been too blind to see. Expensive restaurants she'd never been to. Flowers she'd never received. Hotel rooms in other cities that coincided with his supposed business trips. The evidence had been there all along. She just never thought to look. Naomi created a spreadsheet. Date, location, amount, description. Every suspicious charge from the past 6 months cataloged with the precision she usually reserved for hotel budgets. The total made her nauseous. Over $15,000 spent on his affair. A knock on her door made her jump. She quickly minimized the windows on her screen. "Come in." Robert, her assistant manager, poked his head inside. "Sorry to bother you, but there's an issue with the wedding party. The bride is upset about the flower arrangements in the ballroom. Normal hotel problems. The kind Naomi could fix." "I'll handle it," she said, saving her work and standing. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of wedding crisis management. The flowers were fine, the bride was stressed, and Naomi smoothed everything over with the calm efficiency that made her good at her job. She smiled, she soothed, she fixed things. It felt good to fix something when her personal life was unfixable. By 9 o'clock, the hotel had settled into its quiet evening routine. Naomi gathered her laptop and files, locking everything in her briefcase with the same care she used for hotel documents. This evidence was more valuable than any hotel record. She walked through the lobby one last time, checking that everything was in order. The night manager gave her a wave. Everything was running smoothly the way it always did. The elevator dinged behind her. Naomi turned automatically, her manager instinct still engaged. Sterling stepped out alone. He'd changed into casual clothes. Jeans and a sweater. The outfit she'd bought him last Christmas. He looked tired and desperate and nothing like the confident man who'd walked in earlier. Their eyes met across the lobby. Naomi felt her carefully constructed composure waver for just a moment. This was still Sterling. Still the man she'd loved. Still the person she'd built a life with. But he was also the man who'd betrayed her. Who was probably going back to that suite, to that bed, to that woman right now. Sterling started toward her. Naomi held up one hand. "Don't," she said quietly. "Not here. Not at my workplace." "Then where?" His voice was raw. "You won't answer my calls. You blocked my number. Go back to your room, Mr. Hayes. Enjoy your stay. Stop calling me that. I'm your husband. Are you? Naomi adjusted the briefcase in her hand. Because husbands don't usually check into hotels with other women. At least not in my understanding of marriage. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. And I have the credit card statements to prove it. Sterling's face went pale. You looked at our accounts? Our accounts? You just said it yourself. Joint accounts that you've been using to fund your affair. Naomi's voice remained steady, professional. She could have been discussing a vendor contract. 6 months of charges, Sterling. Restaurants, hotels, gifts. Did you think I'd never notice? I was going to tell you. When? After you checked out on Sunday? Or were you planning to keep this going indefinitely? A couple crossed the lobby, glancing curiously at them. Naomi lowered her voice. I'm leaving now. Don't follow me. Don't call me. Don't come to our house tonight. Sleep in your expensive suite with your expensive mistake. Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. Naomi, please. She walked past him, her heels clicking against marble, her head high, her briefcase full of evidence that would dismantle their marriage as efficiently as she managed her hotel. Sterling didn't follow. Smart man. He was finally learning there were boundaries even he couldn't cross. Naomi made it to her car before her hands started shaking. She sat in the driver's seat, door locked, breathing slowly through her nose. The parking garage was quiet and dark. No one could see her here. No one would witness if she broke. But she didn't break. Not yet. She had to get home. Had to meet Janelle. Had to start planning her next moves. She started the car and pulled out of the parking garage, leaving the Grandview Hotel behind. Leaving Sterling behind. Driving toward a future that terrified her but was hers alone to shape. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She knew it was Sterling using Veronica's phone. She deleted it without reading it. Some messages didn't deserve her attention. Janelle was sitting on Naomi's front porch when she pulled into the driveway. Her best friend stood as Naomi approached, arms already open, and Naomi walked straight into that embrace without a word. You're okay, Janelle said firmly. You're going to be okay. Inside, Naomi's house looked exactly as she'd left it that morning. Coffee cup in the sink. Sterling's newspaper on the kitchen table. The life they'd built together frozen in a moment before everything shattered. Tell me everything, Janelle said, settling onto the blue couch in the living room. Naomi did. Every detail from the moment Sterling walked into the lobby to the confrontation before she left. Janelle listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each new revelation. 6 months of charges, Janelle repeated when Naomi finished. That's not a mistake. That's a whole relationship. I know. And he brought her to your hotel. Your workplace. Where you're respected and successful and known by everyone. Janelle shook her head. That's not just disrespectful. That's cruel. Naomi pulled her laptop from her briefcase. I documented everything. Reservation records, security footage, credit card statements. I have dates, amounts, locations. Janelle leaned forward, examining the spreadsheet Naomi had created. Her eyes widened. $15,000? Naomi, that's insane. That's just the last 6 months. I need to go back further. Check our bank statements, our other credit cards. Everything. You're thinking like a lawyer. That's good. Rebecca Ford is going to love you. They spent the next hour going through financial records. Janelle pulled up statements on her tablet while Naomi cross-referenced them with the hotel reservation system at the Grandview and other properties in their chain. The pattern became clear. Every business trip Sterling had taken in the past year, Veronica had been there too. Different hotels but same cities, same dates. This is premeditated, Janelle said. This isn't some random affair. He's been planning these trips, booking separate rooms to keep up appearances, using your money to do it. Naomi felt numb. The scope of the betrayal was overwhelming. It wasn't just that Sterling had cheated. He'd created an entire shadow life. One that required planning and coordination and constant lying. Around midnight, headlights swept across the living room window. A car door slammed. Footsteps on the walkway. Sterling's key rattled in the lock. He walked in like he still belonged there. Like this was still his home. He stopped when he saw Janelle on the couch. Oh, I didn't know you'd have company. She's not company. She's support. Naomi stood, positioning herself between Sterling and the documents spread across the coffee table. What are you doing here? I live here, Naomi. Not anymore. I want you to leave. Sterling's jaw tightened. This is my house too. You can't just kick me out. Actually, Janelle said calmly, the house is in Naomi's name only. She bought it before you got married and never added you to the deed. Legally you're a guest. And she's asking you to leave. Sterling's face reddened. Stay out of this, Janelle. No. Janelle stood. Naomi's my friend, and right now she needs someone on her side since her husband clearly isn't. I love my wife. Funny way of showing it, Janelle shot back. Naomi held up her hand. Janelle, thank you. But I can handle this. She turned to Sterling. We need to talk. Alone. Janelle gathered her things but paused at the door. I'm just a phone call away. Literally across town. 20 minutes. I know. Thank you. After Janelle left, silence filled the house. Sterling stood awkwardly by the door. Naomi remained standing, arms crossed, waiting. I'm sorry, Sterling finally said. For what specifically? For the affair? For using our money to pay for it? For bringing her to my hotel? For lying for 6 months? For which part are you sorry? All of it. Everything. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Hundreds of choices over 6 months. Sterling moved closer. Let me explain. No. Naomi's voice was flat. I don't want your explanations. I don't want to hear about how it started or why you did it or what she means to you. None of that matters now. She doesn't mean anything. It was just. Stop talking. Sterling's mouth snapped shut. Naomi walked to the kitchen table, picking up the folder she'd prepared earlier. Inside were printouts of everything. The credit card statements. The hotel reservations. The security footage screenshots. She'd printed it all, organized it, highlighted the important parts. I'm filing for divorce, she said, placing the folder on the coffee table. I've already contacted an attorney. We have an appointment tomorrow morning. Tomorrow? Sterling looked stricken. Don't you think we should talk about this first? We're talking about it. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You're going to pack a bag and leave tonight. You're going to find somewhere else to stay. A hotel, Veronica's place, I don't care. But you're not staying here. Naomi, please. Don't do this. We can work through this. No, we can't. You destroyed our marriage. You don't get to decide how I respond to that. Sterling reached for her hand. She stepped back. Don't touch me. I love you. You don't love me. People who love each other don't do what you did. They don't lie. They don't steal. They don't betray. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. Marriages survive this kind of thing all the time. Naomi laughed, the sound bitter and harsh. Do they? Do marriages really survive when one person uses their joint bank account to fund a 6-month affair? When they bring their mistress to their wife's workplace? When they lie every single day? I was confused. Work has been stressful and we've been distant, and don't you dare blame this on me. Don't you dare suggest I'm somehow responsible for your choices. Sterling's face crumpled. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Because it sounds like you're making excuses. It sounds like you're trying to justify what you did by pointing to problems in our marriage that apparently only you knew existed. There were problems. You know there were. You've been so focused on the hotel. Working late, bringing work home. When's the last time we had a real conversation? 2 weeks ago. We talked about visiting your parents for Thanksgiving. 3 weeks ago we discussed refinancing the house. Last month, we spent an entire Sunday planning our vacation for next summer. Naomi's voice remained steady. We had conversations, Sterling. Regular conversations. What we didn't have was you being honest. Sterling sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. What do you want me to do? I want you to pack a bag and leave. That's what I want you to do tonight. Tomorrow, I want you to stay away while I meet with my attorney. Next week, I want you to receive the divorce papers. After that, I want you to sign them without making this difficult. You're really doing this? Yes. Just like that. 7 years of marriage over. You ended our marriage when you started sleeping with Veronica. I'm just making it official. Sterling stood abruptly. What about forgiveness? What about second chances? People mess up, Naomi. That's part of being human. You're right. People do mess up. And there are consequences. This is yours. So that's it? No discussion? No counseling? No trying? Naomi felt something break inside her chest. You want to try? You want to work on this? Then tell me honestly right now, when were you planning to end it with her? Sterling's silence was her answer. That's what I thought, Naomi said. You weren't planning to end it. You were planning to keep going. The only reason we're having this conversation is because you got caught. Because you were stupid enough to bring her to my hotel. It was supposed to be a different hotel. The reservation got mixed up and you didn't think to check? You didn't think to confirm where you were going? Or did you just not care because you never thought I'd be working the desk myself? Sterling's face told her everything. He'd been careless, arrogant, so sure of his deception that he hadn't bothered to cover his tracks properly. Pack your things, Naomi said. You have 20 minutes. Then I want you gone. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Call Veronica. Go back to the hotel. Find a friend's couch. That's your problem now, not mine. Sterling stood there for another moment, as if waiting for her to change her mind. When she didn't, when her expression remained cold and resolved, he finally moved. Naomi listened to him climb the stairs. Heard drawers opening and closing. The closet door. The shuffle of clothes being gathered. Normal sounds that marked the end of her marriage. She didn't cry. Didn't break. Just stood in her living room, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and waited for him to leave. 15 minutes later, Sterling came back down with a duffel bag and his laptop case. He paused at the door. I really am sorry, he said quietly. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, Sterling. But it is what it is. He left without another word. The door closed softly behind him. Naomi heard his car start, heard him drive away. Then silence settled over the house like snow. She walked to the window, watching his taillights disappear down the street. Then she pulled out her phone and texted Janelle. He's gone. I'm okay. Janelle's response came immediately. Proud of you. Get some rest. Tomorrow we fight. Naomi set her phone down and looked around her house. Their house. Her house now, apparently. It looked the same but felt completely different. Emptier. Quieter. But also, somehow, cleaner. Rebecca Ford's office occupied the entire 15th floor of a glass building downtown. Naomi sat in a green leather chair across from a woman whose reputation preceded her. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, and a recording device already running on the desk between them. Tell me everything, Rebecca said, pen poised over a legal pad. Naomi opened her briefcase and pulled out the organized folders she'd prepared. I have documentation. Rebecca's eyebrows rose slightly as she examined the contents. The credit card statements with highlighted charges. The hotel reservations with dates and amounts. The security footage screenshots. Bank account records going back 18 months. You did this yourself? Rebecca asked. I'm a hotel manager. Organization is my job. You'd make an excellent paralegal. Rebecca set down the screenshots and leaned back in her chair. This is comprehensive. Very comprehensive. It makes my job significantly easier. What happens next? I file for divorce on grounds of adultery. In this state, that matters. Given these financial records showing him using marital funds for his affair, we'll petition for a heavily favorable settlement. You'll keep the house, obviously, since it's solely in your name. But we'll also go after compensation for his misuse of joint accounts. Can we do that? Absolutely. He spent marital funds on an extramarital affair. That's called dissipation of assets, and courts don't look kindly on it. Rebecca tapped the credit card statements. $15,000 just in the past 6 months? We can argue he owes you half of that back, plus damages. Naomi felt something loosen in her chest. Justice. Actual legal justice. How long will this take? Depends on whether he contests. If he signs without fighting, we could have this done in 90 days. If he fights. Rebecca shrugged. Could be 6 months to a year. But frankly, with this evidence, I don't think he'll fight. Any lawyer he hires will tell him he doesn't have a leg to stand on. They spent the next hour going through details. Assets, debts, timelines. Rebecca asked sharp questions and took meticulous notes. By the end, Naomi felt wrung out but oddly empowered. One more thing, Rebecca said as Naomi stood to leave. Don't engage with him directly if you can help it. All communication should go through me from now on. And definitely don't let him convince you to talk things over or try to work it out. I've seen too many women get manipulated back into bad situations. That won't happen. Good. You seem stronger than most clients I see. Use that strength. You're going to need it. Naomi left the office feeling lighter than she had in days. The legal process was starting. Things were moving forward. She wasn't stuck anymore. Her phone rang as she reached her car. Her mother. Baby girl. Rita Bennett's warm voice filled the car through the speakers. Janelle told me what happened. I'm driving down tomorrow. Mom, you don't have to. Yes, I do. My daughter is going through a divorce. I'm coming to help. There was no arguing with Rita Bennett when her mind was made up. Naomi had learned that lesson long ago. "Okay," Naomi said. "I'll make up the guest room." "Don't you dare. I'll make up my own room." "You just keep breathing and putting one foot in front of the other." After hanging up, Naomi sat in the parking garage for a long moment. Her mother was coming. Janelle was supporting her. Rebecca Ford was fighting for her. She wasn't alone in this. That realization hit harder than expected. She'd spent so much energy being strong, being professional, being composed. But she didn't have to do this alone. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Unknown, this is Veronica. We need to talk." Naomi stared at the message. The audacity. The absolute nerve of this woman to reach out now. She blocked the number without responding. Veronica Cross didn't deserve her words. Didn't deserve her time. Didn't deserve anything. The drive to work took 20 minutes. Naomi pulled into her usual parking spot and sat there, gathering her composure. Sterling and Veronica would be checking out today. Their 3-night reservation ended at noon. She'd made sure to schedule herself for the late shift so she wouldn't have to process their departure. Inside, the hotel hummed with its usual activity. Tour group checking out. Business travelers grabbing coffee in the lobby cafe. Everything normal except for the executive suite on the 14th floor. Robert met her by the elevators. "Morning, boss. You okay?" Word had spread clearly. Hotel staff were worse gossips than any small town. "I'm fine," Naomi said. "What do I need to know about today?" Robert walked her through the schedule. 3 conferences, 2 weddings, 1 corporate buyout of the restaurant. Standard chaos. The kind Naomi could handle in her sleep. "And the executive suite?" she asked, keeping her voice neutral. "Checking out at 11. Paul asked to handle it personally." Paul Hendricks, the hotel owner. A kind man in his late 50s who'd given Naomi her first management position 8 years ago. He didn't have to do that. He wanted to. Said something about protecting his best manager. Naomi felt her eyes sting. She blinked rapidly, forcing the tears back. Not here. Not at work. The morning passed in a blur of small crises and minor emergencies. A clogged drain in room 302. A mix-up with the catering for the first wedding. A guest who swore they'd reserved a suite but only had a standard room booked. Normal problems. Fixable problems. At 10:45, Naomi was in her office reviewing vendor contracts when Paul knocked on her open door. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Of course." She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Paul sat down with a sigh. He looked tired, older than his 58 years. "I checked them out personally. They're gone." "Thank you. I also banned them from all properties in our chain. Every Grandview hotel in the country. Their names are flagged in the system. They try to book anywhere, reservation gets denied." Naomi's mouth opened. "Close. Paul, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did. What he did was disrespectful not just to you but to this hotel. To the standards we maintain. I won't have people like that staying in my properties." Paul leaned forward. "You're one of the best managers I've ever worked with, Naomi. You've increased our revenue by 30% in 3 years. Guest satisfaction scores are the highest they've ever been. Employee retention is through the roof. You think I'm going to let some cheating husband run you off? I wasn't planning to leave." "Good. Because I have a proposition for you." Paul pulled out a folder from his briefcase. "I'm looking to expand. Open 2 new properties in the next 18 months. I want you to oversee the operations for all 3 hotels. Regional manager position. Significant raise. Your own team." Naomi stared at the folder. "Paul, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. Take the weekend. Look over the proposal. We can discuss details next week." After Paul left, Naomi sat with the folder unopened on her desk. A promotion. A regional position. More money, more responsibility, more opportunities. The universe was giving her an exit from the pain, a pathway forward through success. Her phone buzzed. Sterling calling from yet another new number. She declined the call and added the number to her blocked list. He was persistent, she'd give him that. But persistence didn't change facts. Didn't undo betrayal. Didn't rebuild trust. The rest of her shift passed quietly. No more surprises. No more drama. Just work, steady and predictable and safe. At 7, Naomi finally headed home. Her mother's car was in the driveway. Relief flooded through her. Rita Bennett met her at the door, pulling her into a fierce hug that smelled like the lavender soap she'd used for as long as Naomi could remember. "My baby," Rita whispered. "My strong, beautiful baby." Naomi let herself be held. Let herself be someone's daughter instead of someone's soon-to-be ex-wife. Let herself be vulnerable for the first time in days. I made dinner, Rita said, pulling back. And I cleaned. And I may have thrown out everything in the house that reminded me of that man. Mom, you didn't. I did. His razor, his cologne, that ugly green sweater he always wore. All in a box in the garage. You can decide what to do with it later, but I didn't want you coming home to his things everywhere. Naomi walked into her house. It looked different. Cleaner, like Rita said. But also emptier. The spaces where Sterling's things had been were obvious. The empty shelf in the bathroom. The bare hook by the door where his jacket usually hung. I might have gotten carried away, Rita admitted. But you can tell me if I overstepped. No. Naomi turned to her mother. You did exactly right. Thank you. They ate dinner together at the kitchen table. Rita's famous lasagna and a fresh salad. Comfort food that reminded Naomi of childhood, of simpler times when her biggest problem was algebra homework. Janelle told me you're handling this well, Rita said. Too well, maybe. You're allowed to fall apart a little, baby. You're allowed to be angry. I'm angry. I'm furious. But falling apart won't help anything. Neither will holding it all inside. Naomi set down her fork. What do you want me to do, Mom? Scream? Cry? Break things? If that's what you need, then yes. This house is yours. Break whatever you want. Scream as loud as you need to. Get it out before it eats you alive from the inside. I have a divorce lawyer. I have evidence. I have a plan. That's better than screaming. You can have both. Rita reached across the table, taking Naomi's hand. You can be strategic and still let yourself feel. One doesn't cancel out the other. Later that night, after Rita had gone to bed in the guest room, Naomi stood in her bedroom doorway. The bed she'd shared with Sterling for 7 years. The dresser with his empty drawers. The closet with spaces where his suits used to hang. She thought about her mother's words. About feeling things. About letting herself be angry. The green sweater. Sterling's favorite. The one her mother had thrown in a box. Naomi went to the garage, found the box, pulled out the sweater. It still smelled like him. Like his cologne and laundry detergent and 7 years of marriage. She carried it to the kitchen. Pulled out scissors from the utility drawer. And started cutting. Long strips at first. Then smaller pieces. The fabric gave way easily under the sharp blades. Green wool falling like snow onto the kitchen floor. She didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just cut methodically, destroying something that had belonged to him the way he destroyed something that had belonged to her. When she finished, the sweater was nothing but scraps. Unusable. Unfixable. Just like their marriage. Naomi swept up the pieces and threw them in the trash. Then she washed her hands, locked the doors, and went to bed in sheets that smelled only like her. Tomorrow the divorce papers would be filed. Tomorrow she'd look at Paul's promotion offer. Tomorrow she'd keep moving forward. But tonight she destroyed a sweater. And it felt like a victory. 2 weeks after filing for divorce, Naomi stood in the ballroom of the Grandview Hotel, watching contractors tear down the old chandeliers. Paul's expansion project had given her something concrete to focus on, a renovation that would transform the entire property. The new lighting will make this space twice as appealing, the lead contractor said, pointing to the plans spread across a folding table. Modern fixtures, better ambience. You'll be able to charge premium rates for events. Naomi nodded, making notes on her tablet. This renovation was her baby. Paul had given her complete creative control, trusting her vision for modernizing the hotel while maintaining its classic elegance. Her phone buzzed. Rebecca Ford. I have news, Rebecca said when Naomi answered. Sterling's attorney contacted me. He wants to negotiate. Already? Your evidence is airtight. His lawyer knows it. They're trying to settle before this gets ugly. What are they offering? He keeps his car and his personal accounts. You keep the house, the savings, and he pays you back $7,500 for half of what he spent on the affair. Plus he covers all legal fees. Naomi walked to the ballroom windows looking out over the city. And the timeline? 90 days if he signs this week. No contest, no drama. Tell them yes. After hanging up, Naomi felt something shift inside her chest. Relief maybe. Or just exhaustion at the idea of dragging this out any longer. Sterling was willing to settle. This could actually be over soon. Good news? Rita asked, walking into the ballroom with 2 coffees from the lobby cafe. The divorce might be final in 3 months. Rita handed her a coffee. How do you feel about that? Relieved. Ready. Like I can actually start planning a future instead of just surviving the present. They stood together at the window watching construction workers carry in new light fixtures. Rita had extended her stay indefinitely, and Naomi was grateful. Having her mother's steady presence in the house made everything easier. "Paul's offer," Rita said carefully. "Have you decided?" Naomi had spent the past week reviewing the regional manager proposal. 3 hotels, a team of 15 people, a salary that would nearly double her current income. It was everything she'd worked toward in her career. "I'm taking it," Naomi said. "I'm signing the contract next week." Rita smiled. "Your father would be so proud." The mention of her father, gone 5 years now, made Naomi's throat tight. He'd loved hearing about her career, had celebrated every promotion, every success. He would have hated Sterling for what he'd done. But he would have loved seeing Naomi rise above it. The rest of the day passed in productive chaos. Meetings with vendors, decisions about carpet colors and furniture layouts. Naomi threw herself into the work with single-minded focus. This was something she could control. Something she could shape and perfect. At lunch, Janelle met her in the hotel restaurant. "You look good," Janelle said, studying her critically. "Better than you did 2 weeks ago." "I feel better. Busy helps." "Busy or avoiding? Can't it be both?" Janelle laughed. "Fair point. How's the renovation coming?" Naomi pulled out her tablet, showing Janelle the before and after renderings. "We're gutting the ballroom completely. New lighting, new floors, better acoustics. Then the lobby gets updated and finally we'll renovate half the guest rooms." "And you're managing all of this plus your regular job plus a divorce? Plus preparing to take over 2 more hotels." Naomi sipped her water. "Paul wants me to visit the new properties next month. Start planning their operations." Naomi Bennett, regional manager. "I like the sound of that." They ordered salads and talked about normal things. Janelle's work at the marketing firm. Her dating life. Rita's attempts to reorganize Naomi's kitchen cabinets. Easy conversation that felt like breathing after holding her breath for weeks. "Have you heard from Sterling?" Janelle asked carefully. "His lawyer contacts my lawyer. That's it. I've blocked every number he's tried to reach me from." "And Veronica?" "Haven't heard from her since I blocked her number too. I don't know if they're still together. Don't care honestly." "That's growth. Or just exhaustion. Hard to care about people who don't matter anymore." After lunch, Naomi spent 2 hours in budget meetings. The renovation was expensive, but Paul had secured investors who believed in the project. In her vision. The numbers worked if they executed everything perfectly. No pressure. At 4, her mother texted, "Coming to the hotel. Need to show you something." Rita arrived 20 minutes later carrying a large portfolio case. She set it on Naomi's desk with a mysterious smile. "What's this?" Naomi asked. "Open it." Inside were fabric swatches, paint samples, and furniture catalogs. All marked with sticky notes in Rita's neat handwriting. "Mom, what did you do? Your house needs updating. New paint, new furniture, make it feel like yours instead of yours and his. I've been researching designers and I found this woman who does incredible work." Naomi flipped through the samples. Rich blues and greens. Modern furniture with clean lines. Nothing like the neutral tones and traditional pieces Sterling had insisted on. "This is beautiful," Naomi said softly. "You deserve beautiful. You deserve a home that makes you happy when you walk through the door. Not a place that reminds you of what you lost." "When did you become an interior designer?" "When my daughter needed something positive to focus on besides legal proceedings and hotel renovations." Rita perched on the edge of the desk. "Say yes. Let me help you rebuild your house the way you're rebuilding your life." Naomi looked at the samples again. A fresh start. A clean slate. A house that was truly hers. "Yes," she said. "Let's do it." Rita's smile could have lit the entire hotel. "Good. The designer can start next week. I already scheduled the consultation." "You were that sure I'd say yes?" "I know my daughter." That evening, Naomi stayed late at the hotel to meet with the architect about the lobby redesign. They discussed traffic flow, check-in efficiency, and creating spaces that felt both luxurious and welcoming. "The goal is to make guests feel special from the moment they walk in," Naomi explained. "Not intimidated. Not overwhelmed. Just valued." The architect nodded, making notes. "I can work with that. Give me 2 weeks for revised drawings." By the time Naomi left, it was after 9. The hotel glowed against the night sky, every window lit, every corner alive with activity. Her hotel. Her project. Her success. She drove home through quiet streets, past restaurants and shops closing for the night. Life continuing its normal rhythm while hers transformed completely. Rita was still up when she arrived, watching a cooking show in the living room. Long day? Rita asked. Productive day. Naomi collapsed onto the couch beside her mother. I love what I do, Mom. Even with everything else falling apart, the hotel makes sense. The work makes sense. That's because you're good at it. Because you built something that's yours. Sterling never really understood that. He thought the hotel was just a job. Something to do until we had kids and I could stay home. Rita's expression darkened. He actually said that to you? More than once. He'd talk about me quitting, about focusing on family. I always shut it down, but now I wonder if that was part of why he strayed. Because I chose my career over his vision of what our life should be. Stop that right now. Rita turned to face her fully. Don't you dare blame yourself for his choices. Plenty of men have wives with careers. Successful, ambitious, driven wives. And they don't cheat. They support and celebrate and partner. Sterling's failure to do that is about his character, not your choices. I know. Logically, I know that. But sometimes I wonder what I missed. What signs I should have seen. You missed nothing. Cheaters are good at hiding. That's what makes them cheaters. Rita took her hand. You loved him. You trusted him. That's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. He's the one who broke that trust. Not you. They sat in comfortable silence, the cooking show playing in the background. Naomi felt her body finally relaxing, the tension of the day draining away. The designer coming next week, Rita said eventually. Her name is Patricia. She's done homes all over the city. Beautiful work. I showed her pictures of your house and she has ideas already. What kind of ideas? She wants to paint your bedroom this gorgeous deep blue, like the ocean at night, and get you a new bed. Something that's just yours. A new bed. The symbolism wasn't subtle, but Naomi appreciated it anyway. The bed she'd shared with Sterling had too many memories. Too many ghosts. Okay, Naomi said. New bed. Ocean blue walls. What else? Rita pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos the designer had sent. Room after room transformed from ordinary to extraordinary. Color and light in spaces that felt alive. I want this, Naomi said, pointing to a living room with green walls and modern furniture. This energy. This brightness. Then that's what we'll create. Later, lying in bed in her soon-to-be renovated bedroom, Naomi thought about rebuilding. The hotel was being rebuilt. Her house would be rebuilt. Her life was being rebuilt. And somehow, piece by piece, she was being rebuilt too. Stronger. Clearer. More herself than she'd been in years. Sterling had taken a lot from her. Trust. Security. 7 years of her life. But he hadn't taken everything. He hadn't taken her career. Her friendships. Her relationship with her mother. Her sense of self-worth. Those were still hers. Still intact. Still growing. And that, Naomi thought as she drifted off to sleep, was everything that mattered. The lawyer's office felt different this time. Naomi sat across from Rebecca Ford, watching her attorney's expression grow darker as she read through a document her investigator had uncovered. This is bigger than we thought, Rebecca said finally, sliding the papers across the desk. Naomi scanned the financial report. Her stomach dropped. What am I looking at? Your husband has been moving money from your joint accounts into a private account for the past 18 months. Small amounts at first. 500 here, 1,000 there. But it adds up. Rebecca pointed to the total at the bottom of the page. $42,000. The room tilted. Naomi gripped the edge of the desk. 42,000? He's been systematic about it. Transferring amounts small enough not to trigger alerts, spacing them out so they wouldn't show a pattern in any single month. But over time. Rebecca tapped the document. This is embezzlement from marital funds. And it's a game changer for the divorce. Where did the money go? Rebecca pulled out another document. Bank statements for an account Naomi had never seen. Withdrawals to luxury hotels. Designer stores. A jewelry purchase for $8,000. Naomi had never received an expensive piece of jewelry from Sterling. He bought her a bracelet, Rebecca said, pointing to the jewelry store charge. Cartier. While you were working 60-hour weeks to manage the hotel renovation. Naomi felt something cold settle in her chest. Not anger exactly. Something harder. More final. Can we get it back? All of it plus penalties. This isn't just marital misconduct anymore. This is financial fraud. I'm amending our petition to include these findings. The judge is going to crucify him. Good. Rebecca raised an eyebrow at Naomi's tone. You want to go hard on this? I want justice. He stole from me. From our future. For 18 months while I trusted him completely. Naomi's voice didn't waver. Yes, I want to go hard. Then that's what we'll do. I'll contact his attorney today. Let them know what we found. My guess is they'll want to settle immediately. No one wants this going to court. After leaving Rebecca's office, Naomi drove to the hotel on autopilot. $42,000. The number kept circling in her mind. That was a year of her salary. That was the down payment on a new property. That was her security, her safety net, stolen in small increments over a year and a half. Rita was waiting in the hotel lobby when Naomi arrived. I can see it on your face, Rita said. What happened? Naomi told her everything. The hidden account. The systematic theft. The jewelry he'd bought for Veronica while claiming they needed to be careful with money. Rita's expression went from concern to furious in seconds. That man, she said through gritted teeth. That absolute piece of garbage. Mom? Don't mom me. I'm allowed to be angry. He stole from you, Naomi. Stole. While you were working yourself to exhaustion. While you were trusting him to manage your finances. They moved to Naomi's office, closing the door against the normal chaos of the hotel. Rita paced while Naomi sat at her desk trying to process everything. There's more, Naomi said quietly. Rebecca found charges to other women. Not just Veronica. At least 2 others over the past 18 months. Rita stopped pacing. What? Hotel rooms in different cities. Dinners for 2 when he was supposedly traveling alone for business. He wasn't just having one affair. He was having several. Naomi. Rita's voice broke. I kept thinking Veronica was a mistake. A lapse in judgment. Something that happened and spiraled. But it wasn't. He's been doing this for over a year. Multiple women. Multiple lies. Naomi looked up at her mother. I never knew him at all. Rita pulled up a chair, sitting across from her daughter. You knew who you thought he was. That's not your failure. That's his deception. How did I miss it? All those signs. All that time. Because you're not a suspicious person. Because you trusted your husband, which is what you're supposed to do in a marriage. Because he's apparently an excellent liar. Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Sterling's lawyer called. They want to meet tomorrow to discuss settlement. They're scared. Good, Naomi thought. They should be. She spent the rest of the day working through hotel business with mechanical efficiency. Approving vendor contracts. Reviewing event bookings. Meeting with the architect about the lobby redesign. Normal tasks that kept her hands busy and her mind focused on something other than the implosion of her marriage. At 6, Janelle appeared in her office doorway. Your mom called me, Janelle said. I brought wine. I'm still at work. And your shift ended an hour ago. Come on. Rita's making dinner at your house. We're having a girls' night. Naomi wanted to protest, but the truth was she didn't want to be alone. Didn't want to sit in her office thinking about Sterling's betrayals. Plural. Multiple women. Multiple lies. Multiple thefts. They drove to Naomi's house in separate cars. Inside, Rita had transformed the kitchen into something from a cooking show. Pasta sauce simmering on the stove. Fresh bread in the oven. A salad already assembled in a large blue bowl. Comfort food night, Rita announced. We're eating carbs and drinking wine and talking about what a terrible person Sterling is. I don't want to talk about Sterling, Naomi said. Then we'll talk about literally anything else. But we're still eating carbs and drinking wine. They settled around the kitchen table with heaping plates of pasta and generous glasses of red wine. For a while they ate in comfortable silence. Then Janelle started telling a story about a disaster at her marketing firm, a client presentation that went hilariously wrong, and soon they were all laughing. I threw up on my boss's shoes, Janelle said. Actual vomit. All over his new Italian leather. What did he do? Rita asked. Gave me the rest of the day off and never mentioned it again. Best boss ever. The laughter felt good. Normal. Like Naomi could still be a person who laughed at ridiculous stories instead of a woman whose husband had been systematically stealing from her for 18 months. Can I ask a question? Rita said carefully. Naomi nodded. What do you need right now? Not what you think you should need. What do you actually need? Naomi considered this. I need to stop being surprised. Every time I think I know the full extent of what he did, something new comes out. More money. More women. More lies. I just want to know everything so I can stop bracing for the next revelation. That's fair, Janelle said. You want the whole truth so you can process it all at once instead of in painful increments. Yes. Exactly that. Then tell Rebecca to dig deeper, Rita suggested. Get a forensic accountant. Search every record. Find everything there is to find. Then at least you'll know the complete picture. That will cost more money. And it will be worth it. For your peace of mind if nothing else. Naomi pulled out her phone and texted Rebecca. I want a complete financial audit. Everything. I need to know the full extent of what he did. Rebecca's response came quickly. I'll have someone start tomorrow. We'll find everything. They finished dinner and moved to the living room. Rita put on a comedy special. They laughed at jokes that normally wouldn't be that funny, but tonight, with wine and full stomachs and the comfort of people who loved her, everything felt a little lighter. Around 10, Janelle left. Rita started cleaning up the kitchen and Naomi helped, drying dishes and putting away leftovers. You're handling this well, Rita said. I don't feel like I'm handling it well. I feel like I'm barely keeping it together. That's what handling it well looks like sometimes. Just barely keeping it together but not falling apart. That's strength, baby. That's resilience. That night, Naomi lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow she'd meet with Rebecca to discuss the settlement. Next week the forensic accountant would deliver their full report. In 90 days, if Sterling signed the papers, she'd be divorced. The timeline was becoming real. Concrete. An end date to this chapter of her life. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown, this is Veronica. I need to talk to you about Sterling. Please. Naomi stared at the message. Part of her was curious. What could Veronica possibly have to say that would matter now? But the stronger part, the part that had gotten her through the past month, knew better. This was a trap. An attempt to manipulate or justify or somehow make Naomi understand. She didn't need to understand. Didn't want to understand. Understanding wouldn't change anything. Wouldn't give her back the money Sterling stole. Wouldn't erase his betrayals. Wouldn't restore the trust he'd shattered. Naomi blocked the number and set down her phone. Some conversations weren't worth having. Some people didn't deserve her time or attention or energy. Sterling and Veronica fell firmly into that category. She closed her eyes and thought about the hotel renovation. The new lighting in the ballroom. The modern furniture for the lobby. The fresh paint and updated guest rooms. Building something new. Something better. Something that was entirely hers. That's where her energy belonged. Not in the wreckage of her marriage, but in the construction of her future. And that future, Naomi decided, was going to be spectacular. The final settlement conference took place in a glass-walled conference room on the 20th floor of Rebecca's building. Naomi sat beside her attorney, watching Sterling and his lawyer arrive looking considerably less confident than the last time they'd met. Sterling had lost weight. His suit hung looser on his frame. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. He looked, Naomi thought with detached observation, like a man finally understanding the consequences of his actions. Shall we begin? Rebecca said, opening a thick folder. Sterling's attorney, a nervous man named Thomas Chin, cleared his throat. We're prepared to offer a revised settlement in light of the additional financial information that's come to light. Additional financial information, Rebecca repeated. Is that what we're calling embezzlement now? My client maintains he had a right to access marital funds. For marital purposes, yes. For funding multiple extramarital affairs? For hiding money in secret accounts? For systematically stealing from his wife for 18 months. Rebecca slid a document across the table. This is what we found. Every transaction. Every withdrawal. Every lie. The forensic accountant had been thorough. Naomi had received the full report 3 days ago. $42,000 in stolen funds. An additional $18,000 spent directly from joint accounts on affairs with 3 different women. Hotel rooms, gifts, dinners, trips. All documented with receipts and credit card statements. Thomas reviewed the document, his face growing paler with each page. Sterling didn't look at it. Just stared at the table, jaw clenched. This is all accurate? Thomas asked Sterling. Yes, Sterling said quietly. Then we need to discuss a new settlement. Thomas pulled out his own folder. My client is willing to return the $42,000 in full, plus an additional $20,000 in compensatory damages. He'll keep only his personal vehicle and a small portion of his individual retirement account. Everything else goes to Ms. Bennett. Rebecca looked at Naomi. They discussed this scenario. Rebecca had advised that this was likely the best they'd get without going to trial, which could take a year and cost both sides significantly more money. Plus legal fees, Naomi said. He pays all legal fees. Mine and his. Thomas winced but nodded. Agreed. And I want it in writing that he accepts full responsibility for the dissolution of the marriage due to his adultery and financial misconduct. No fault language. Full admission. That's not standard. I don't care what's standard. That's what I want. Sterling finally looked up. Naomi, please. Do you have to humiliate me? Humiliate you? Naomi's voice was cold. You humiliated yourself. You brought your mistress to my hotel. You stole from our accounts for a year and a half. You slept with at least 3 different women while married to me. I'm not humiliating you. I'm just making sure the truth is documented. I made mistakes. Stop calling them mistakes. Mistakes are accidents. Errors in judgment. What you did was deliberate. Calculated. Sustained deception over years. Naomi stood. I'll accept the settlement with the conditions I stated. Full financial compensation, admission of fault, and all legal fees paid by you. Take it or we go to trial. Thomas looked at Sterling. Take it. If this goes to trial, you'll lose everything and it will be public record. The company will find out. Everyone will know. Sterling's jaw worked. Finally he nodded. Fine. I'll sign. Rebecca produced the settlement documents. Sterling signed them with shaking hands, each page another nail in the coffin of their marriage. When he finished, Rebecca collected the papers and filed them in her briefcase. The judge will review and approve these within 2 weeks, Rebecca said. After that, you have 90 days until the divorce is final. 90 days. 3 months until Naomi was legally free. Sterling stood, but instead of leaving, he turned to Naomi. Can we talk? Just for a minute. Privately. No, Naomi said. We have nothing to discuss that isn't in those papers you just signed. I just want to apologize. Really apologize. Not through lawyers. You've had plenty of opportunities to apologize. You've called from a dozen different numbers. You've sent emails. You even tried to talk to Janelle and my mother. I've heard your apologies. I'm just not interested in accepting them. I still love you. The words hung in the air. Rebecca and Thomas both looked uncomfortable. Naomi felt nothing. No pain, no anger, not even satisfaction. Just emptiness where those words used to mean something. You don't love me, Naomi said quietly. You never did. You loved what I gave you. Stability. A nice home. Someone to manage your life while you did whatever you wanted. But that's not love, Sterling. That's convenience. That's not true. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's over. Sign the final papers when they come. Move on with your life. Leave me alone. She walked out of the conference room, Rebecca following with the briefcase full of victory. In the elevator, Naomi finally allowed herself to breathe. You did well in there, Rebecca said. Very composed. I don't feel composed. I feel exhausted. That's normal. You've been fighting for weeks. This is the beginning of the end. The elevator opened into the parking garage. Naomi's car waited in its usual spot, familiar and ordinary. What happens next? Naomi asked. The judge reviews the settlement. Assuming no issues, which there won't be given how straightforward this is, you'll receive notice of the final hearing date. You show up, the judge signs the decree, and you're divorced. Rebecca smiled. Then you get to start your life over however you want. However I want. The words felt foreign. Naomi had spent 7 years considering Sterling in every decision. Where to live. What to buy. How to spend weekends. Now she could just decide things for herself. The freedom was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. That evening, Naomi went straight to the hotel. Paul was waiting in her office with a bottle of champagne. I heard you won, he said. Word travels fast. Rebecca's assistant is dating someone on my accounting team. Hotel industry. Paul shrugged. Everyone knows everything. He opened the champagne, pouring 2 glasses. To victory. And to new beginnings. They clinked glasses. The champagne was excellent, crisp and cold. Naomi felt some of the tension drain from her shoulders. I signed the contract for the regional manager position, Paul said. It's official. Starting next month, you'll oversee all 3 properties. Next month? That's faster than we discussed. I need you in place before the holidays. The new hotels are struggling with their seasonal planning. They need your expertise. Naomi thought about managing 3 hotels. The challenge of it. The complexity. The chance to build something bigger than she'd ever attempted before. I can do it, she said. I know you can. That's why I offered you the position. They discussed logistics for the next hour. Naomi would split her time between the 3 properties for the first few months, training management teams at the new locations while maintaining oversight of the Grandview. She'd need to hire 2 assistant managers and expand her administrative team. The work would be intense, but it was exactly the kind of challenge she needed. Something to pour herself into while her personal life settled into its new shape. At 8, Rita called. "Are you coming home for dinner? Actually, can we go out? I want to celebrate." The settlement? Everything. The settlement, the promotion, surviving the worst month of my life. All of it. Rita laughed. "Where do you want to go?" "Somewhere fancy. Somewhere expensive. Somewhere Sterling would have said was too much." They went to the best restaurant in the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. A menu with prices that made Rita's eyes widen. A wine list thick as a phone book. "This is ridiculous," Rita said, but she was smiling. "I can afford ridiculous now. $42,000 plus $20,000 in damages plus my regular salary plus my new salary. I can afford whatever I want." They ordered steaks and expensive wine and a dessert that cost as much as a week of groceries. And they enjoyed every bite, every sip, every moment of the extravagance. "To my daughter," Rita said, raising her glass, "who faced betrayal with grace, fought back with strength, and came out victorious." "To new beginnings," Naomi added. They clinked glasses and drank to futures unwritten. To possibilities unlimited. To lives lived on their own terms. Later, driving home through the city streets, Naomi thought about Sterling signing those papers. His hands shaking. His face pale. The reality finally hitting him that this was permanent. She felt no satisfaction in his suffering. No joy in his discomfort. Just a quiet certainty that she'd done what needed to be done. Protected herself. Stood up for herself. Demanded the justice she deserved. And won. The house was dark when she arrived. Rita had gone to bed early, tired from the rich food and wine. Naomi walked through rooms that were slowly transforming. Fresh paint in the bedroom. New furniture being delivered next week. Her house becoming her home. She stood in the doorway of the bedroom she'd shared with Sterling. The bed was already gone, donated to charity. New one arriving Tuesday. Ocean blue walls drying in the darkness. Everything different. Everything new. This was her space now. Her sanctuary. Her place to rebuild. And she was going to make it magnificent. 3 weeks after the settlement, Naomi was reviewing quarterly reports in her office when her phone rang. An unknown number, but she answered anyway. "Miss Bennett? This is Thomas Chin, Sterling's attorney." Naomi sat up straighter. "What can I do for you, Mr. Chin?" "I'm calling as a professional courtesy to inform you that Sterling has been terminated from his position at Barlow Corporation." The words took a moment to process. Terminated? Why? Their internal audit discovered financial irregularities in several accounts Sterling managed. Expense reports that don't match up with actual business trips. Client entertainment charges that couldn't be verified. "It appears he's been using company funds the same way he used your marital funds." Naomi set down her pen. "They fired him for embezzlement?" "They're not pursuing legal charges, but yes. He was terminated immediately this morning. I thought you should know in case it affects the divorce settlement in any way." "How would it affect the settlement?" "He may claim inability to pay the compensation he owes you. I wanted you to be aware so you and Miss Ford could prepare accordingly." After hanging up, Naomi called Rebecca immediately. "Can he do that?" Naomi asked. "Can he claim he can't pay because he lost his job?" "He can try. But he signed the agreement. It's legally binding. If he can't pay the full amount immediately, we can arrange a payment plan, but he owes you that money regardless of his employment status." Rebecca paused. "Although I'll be honest, this complicates things. A payment plan means this drags out longer." "I don't care how long it takes. He signed the agreement. He pays what he owes." "That's what I like to hear. I'll send him a letter today making that clear." Naomi spent the rest of the afternoon distracted, unable to focus on the reports in front of her. Sterling fired. It was almost too perfect. The universe serving up karmic justice without her having to lift a finger. At 5, Janelle called. "Have you heard? About Sterling losing his job?" "Yes. His lawyer called me. Not just his job. Veronica left him." Naomi's hand tightened on her phone. "How do you know that?" "My firm handles marketing for Veronica's company. One of my colleagues mentioned she's been complaining about her ex-boyfriend who turned out to be married and broke. Apparently, she had no idea about the extent of his financial problems until recently. She knew he was married. I didn't say she had standards. Just that she has information." Naomi laughed despite herself. "So Sterling's lost his job and his girlfriend in the same week. Karma's not subtle, is she?" After hanging up, Naomi sat at her desk thinking about the chain of events. Sterling's lies had finally caught up to him. Not because she'd exposed him, though she could have. Not because she'd sought revenge. But because liars eventually get caught. Because cheaters eventually get found out. Because people who steal from everyone in their life eventually run out of people to steal from. She hadn't needed to destroy him. He'd destroyed himself. That night, Rita made her famous chicken soup. They ate in the newly painted dining room, the green walls glowing in the evening light. "You're smiling," Rita observed. "Sterling lost his job today. And Veronica left him." Rita's spoon paused halfway to her mouth. "Both in one day?" "Apparently his company found out he'd been embezzling. And Veronica found out he's broke." "That's," Rita paused, searching for words. "That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. It feels too perfect. Like the universe is making up for letting him hurt me by crushing him all at once. Or maybe the universe is just letting natural consequences play out. He lied to his job, he lost his job. He lied to his girlfriend, he lost his girlfriend. Cause and effect." Naomi sipped her soup. "Do you think I should feel bad for him?" "Do you feel bad for him?" "No. I feel nothing. Maybe a little relief that I won't have to worry about him trying to reconcile anymore. Kind of hard to beg someone to take you back when you're unemployed and living with your parents." "Wait, he moved back in with his parents?" "According to Thomas, yes. Lost the apartment he was renting because he can't afford it anymore." Rita laughed. "Oh, that's even better. 36 years old and sleeping in his childhood bedroom. That's beautiful." They finished dinner and Naomi helped with dishes. The kitchen sparkled. Rita had deep cleaned everything, organized the cabinets, replaced old appliances with new ones. The house hummed with newness and possibility. "The furniture arrives tomorrow," Rita reminded her. "New couch, new dining table, new bedroom set. Are you ready to finally have your house feel like your house?" "More than ready." Later, lying in an air mattress in her empty bedroom, Naomi thought about Sterling in his childhood bedroom. About Veronica moving on to someone else. About the life Sterling had tried to build on lies collapsing around him. She felt no satisfaction. No joy. Just a quiet certainty that justice had been served without her having to do anything but protect herself. The divorce would be final in 67 days. She was counting down now, watching the calendar tick toward freedom. Her phone buzzed. A text from Paul. "Can you come in early tomorrow? Want to discuss the Miami property." Naomi smiled. Or purpose. A future built on her own merits and efforts. She texted back, "I'll be there at 7. The next morning the furniture truck arrived at 6. Naomi directed the delivery team, watching as her new couch, her new dining table, her new bed were carried into their designated spaces. Rita supervised with the eye of someone who'd planned every detail. "The blue couch goes against the west wall," Rita instructed. "No, the other west wall." "Yes, perfect." By 8 the house was transformed. New furniture in every room. The old pieces donated or sold. Everything fresh and modern and entirely Naomi's taste. She stood in her living room, looking at the blue couch and green walls and the abstract art Rita had helped her choose. This was her house. Her space. Her sanctuary. No more compromises. No more considering what Sterling would want. Just her own preferences, her own style, her own life. "It's beautiful," she told Rita. "It's yours. That's what makes it beautiful." Naomi went to work energized. Met with Paul about the Miami property. Reviewed expansion plans. Scheduled site visits for next week. Her calendar filled with purpose and possibility. Around noon her phone rang. Thomas again. "I'm calling about Sterling's payment plan proposal," he said. "Go ahead." "He's requesting to pay the $62,000 over 24 months. $2,000 per month plus minimal interest." Naomi calculated quickly. That would drag things out for 2 years. 2 years of monthly reminders of what he'd done. 2 years of maintaining contact. "No," she said. "Tell him 12 months. 5,000 per month. If he can't manage that, he can sell his car or ask his parents for help. But I want this done within a year. I'll convey your terms." After hanging up, Naomi returned to her spreadsheets. The hotel chain was expanding faster than projected. Revenue was up across all 3 properties. Her strategies were working. Everything she touched was growing and succeeding. That afternoon, Janelle stopped by with coffee. "You look good," Janelle said, handing her a latte. "Different somehow." "I am different. Lighter maybe. Like I've put down something heavy I didn't realize I was carrying. That's called a bad marriage." They sat in Naomi's office drinking coffee and talking about normal things. Janelle's latest dating disaster. Rita's plans to return home next month. The hotel renovation progress. Have you thought about dating? Janelle asked carefully. God, no. The divorce isn't even final yet. I didn't mean now. I meant eventually. Are you open to it? Naomi considered this. Maybe. Someday. When I'm ready. But right now, I'm focused on work and myself and figuring out who I am without being someone's wife. That's healthy. It's also easier. Dating sounds exhausting. It is exhausting. But sometimes it's also fun. When you're ready, I know some people. Of course you do. They laughed and it felt good. Normal. Like life was returning to a rhythm that made sense. That evening, Naomi came home to her transformed house. Sat on her new blue couch. Ate dinner at her new dining table. Slept in her new bed with ocean blue walls surrounding her. Everything was different now. Everything was new. And for the first time in months, Naomi felt truly at peace with that. 4 months after filing for divorce, Naomi stood in the Miami property's lobby watching her new assistant manager coordinate a wedding rehearsal. The hotel gleamed after 3 weeks of intensive renovations. Marble floors polished to mirrors. Fresh flowers in enormous vases. Staff moving with the practiced efficiency Naomi had trained into them. Everything's running perfectly, Cameron Mills said, appearing at her elbow with a tablet. He was a business consultant Paul had hired to help with the expansion, and over the past month, he'd become an invaluable resource. The bride's family is happy, the catering is on schedule, and we're booked solid for the next 3 months. Good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Cameron was 40 years old, professional, and completely focused on work. They developed an easy working relationship based on shared standards and mutual respect. Nothing romantic. Just 2 professionals building something successful together. I have the reports from the Atlanta property, Cameron said, pulling up files on his tablet. Revenue is up 18% from last quarter. Guest satisfaction scores are at 94%. You've turned that location around completely. Naomi reviewed the numbers with satisfaction. When she'd taken over the Atlanta hotel 3 months ago, it had been struggling with poor reviews and declining bookings. She'd replaced half the staff, renovated the restaurant, and implemented new customer service protocols. Now it was one of the top-rated hotels in the city. Paul's going to be thrilled, she said. Paul's already thrilled. He told me yesterday you're the best decision he's ever made. They spent the next hour reviewing operational details. Staffing schedules. Vendor contracts. Marketing strategies. This was Naomi's world now. 3 hotels, hundreds of employees, millions of dollars in revenue. She managed it all with the same precision she'd once used for a single property. Her phone buzzed. Rebecca Ford. The divorce is final, Rebecca said without preamble. The judge signed the decree this morning. Congratulations, you're officially single. Naomi felt something release in her chest. It's over. Completely over. You'll receive the official paperwork in the mail, but legally, as of 9:15 this morning, you are no longer married to Sterling Hayes. After hanging up, Naomi stood in the hotel lobby processing. For months ago, Sterling had walked through the Grandview's doors with Veronica. For months ago, her marriage had imploded. And now, officially, legally, it was finished. She wasn't Mrs. Hayes anymore. Just Naomi Bennett. Hotel executive. Regional manager. Single woman building an empire. Good news? Cameron asked. The best. My divorce is final. Cameron raised his eyebrows. Congratulations. That must be a relief. You have no idea. That evening, Naomi flew back to her home city. Rita had returned to her own house 2 weeks earlier, and Naomi had been living alone in her renovated home. She'd been nervous about the solitude, but it turned out she loved it. Loved coming home to silence. Loved making decisions about dinner or bedtime or weekend plans without consulting anyone. Loved the absolute freedom of it. She walked into her house, dropped her suitcase by the door and looked around at her space. Blue couch. Green walls. Ocean blue bedroom visible through the hallway. Everything exactly as she wanted it. Her phone rang. Janelle. Did you hear? Naomi answered. That you're legally free? Yes. Rebecca texted me. We're celebrating. I'm picking you up in an hour. I just got home. And now you're going out. Put on something red. We're going dancing. Naomi started to protest, but then she thought, why not? She was divorced. She was successful. She was free. Why not celebrate? She put on a red dress she'd bought last month. One Sterling would have said was too bold, too bright, too much. She loved it. Loved how it made her feel powerful and beautiful and entirely herself. Janelle arrived exactly an hour later, wearing blue and carrying a bottle of champagne. "We're starting the celebration here," Janelle announced, heading to the kitchen for glasses. They toasted in Naomi's dining room, drinking expensive champagne and laughing about nothing and everything. "To freedom," Janelle said. "To new beginnings," Naomi added. "To never settling for less than you deserve," Rita's voice came from the doorway. Naomi spun around. "Mom? I thought you were in Portland." "I was. Then I heard your divorce was final and I drove back." "You think I'm missing this celebration?" Rita joined them at the table, accepting a glass of champagne. "To my daughter, who faced the worst and came out stronger." They drank and talked and laughed until Janelle declared it was time to actually go dancing. They piled into Janelle's car and headed to a club downtown, one Naomi had never been to because Sterling thought dancing was juvenile. The music hit her the moment they walked in. Loud and rhythmic and alive. Janelle pulled her onto the dance floor and for the first time in months, Naomi just let go. Danced without thinking. Moved without worrying. Existed without considering anyone but herself. It felt incredible. Around midnight they collapsed into a booth, sweaty and laughing and exhausted. "When's the last time you did that?" Janelle asked. "College maybe?" Sterling hated dancing. "Sterling hated everything fun," Rita observed, sipping water. They stayed until 2 in the morning. Dancing and drinking and celebrating. When they finally left, Naomi felt light. Younger. More alive than she had in years. The next week blurred with activity. Naomi established her routine managing 3 hotels. Monday and Tuesday at the Grandview. Wednesday in Atlanta. Thursday and Friday in Miami. Weekends at home catching up on administrative work and planning. She hired 2 more assistant managers, expanded her team, and implemented systems that allowed her to oversee everything without being physically present at every location. Paul was impressed. The investors were thrilled. Revenue continued to climb. At the end of the month, Paul called her into his office. "I have a proposition," he said. "I want to open 2 more properties in the next year. Phoenix and Seattle. And I want you to have equity in the company. Not just a salary. Actual ownership." Naomi stared at him. "Ownership? 10% of the company. You've more than earned it. You've transformed our operations, increased revenue by 40%, and built a reputation that has investors calling me. I want you invested in the success, not just employed by it." "Paul, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll sign the partnership agreement and help me build something even bigger." Naomi thought about it for exactly 5 seconds. "Yes. Absolutely yes." They shook hands and Naomi felt her future solidify. This was her career. Her company now partially. Her success built on her own merits and hard work. That night she called Rita to share the news. "Partner in a hotel chain," Rita said, her voice full of pride. "Your father would have been so proud. I wish he could see it. He can, baby. He's watching. And he's proud." Naomi hung up and sat on her blue couch looking around her house. 6 months ago she'd been standing at the hotel desk, watching her husband check in with another woman. 6 months ago her world had shattered. Now she was divorced, promoted, about to become a business partner in a successful company. She owned her own home, had a supportive family, genuine friendships, and a career that fulfilled her completely. Sterling had tried to destroy her. Had lied and cheated and stolen. Had broken every promise he'd ever made. But he hadn't broken her. He'd just cleared away everything that was holding her back from becoming who she was meant to be. And that woman, Naomi thought with deep satisfaction, was magnificent. 1 year after Sterling walked into her hotel, Naomi stood on the balcony of the new Seattle property, watching the sun set over the water. The hotel had opened 3 months ago to rave reviews. The Phoenix location was ahead of schedule and under budget. The original 3 hotels were thriving beyond projections. Her phone buzzed. A video call from Rita and Janelle. She answered, smiling at their faces filling the screen. "How's Seattle?" Rita asked. "Beautiful. Perfect. Exactly what we hoped for." "And you're coming home this weekend, right?" Janelle demanded. "Because I'm not celebrating the anniversary of your freedom without you. I'll be home Friday night. Wouldn't miss it." After hanging up, Naomi walked back into the hotel. She'd been in Seattle for 2 weeks, overseeing the final details of the launch. Cameron had managed the other properties in her absence, proving himself invaluable once again. They developed a strong working relationship, built on mutual respect and shared goals. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello? Naomi? It's Sterling. She should have hung up immediately. Should have blocked the number without a word. But something made her pause. What do you want, Sterling? I just wanted to congratulate you. I saw the article about the Seattle hotel. About you becoming partner in the company. It's impressive. Thank you. Was that all? I also wanted to apologize. Really apologize. I know I destroyed everything we had. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry. Naomi looked out at the Seattle skyline. I appreciate the apology. But it doesn't change anything. I know. I just needed you to know that I understand what I lost. What I threw away. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. Yes, I did. I do. Are you happy? Sterling asked quietly. Naomi considered the question. Was she happy? She had a career she loved. Financial security. Genuine friendships. A home she adored. Freedom to make her own choices. No one to lie to her or steal from her or betray her. Yes, she said. I'm very happy. Good. That's good. I'm glad. Sterling paused. I won't call again. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. And that I'm glad you're doing well. Goodbye, Sterling. She hung up and blocked the number. That chapter was closed. Permanently. The rest of the week passed in productive meetings and operational fine-tuning. By Friday, the Seattle hotel was running like clockwork. Naomi caught an evening flight home, arriving just after 10. Her house welcomed her with warm lights and the scent of Rita's cooking. Her mother had let herself in, as she often did, and prepared Naomi's favorite dinner. Welcome home, partner, Rita said, pulling her into a hug. They ate dinner together, talking about the Seattle launch and Rita's garden and Janelle's latest dating disaster. Normal conversation. Comfortable and easy. Sterling called me this week, Naomi mentioned. Rita's expression hardened. What did he want? To apologize. To congratulate me on the Seattle hotel. To tell me he's glad I'm happy. And what did you say? I said thank you and goodbye. Then I blocked his number. Good girl. That Saturday, Janelle organized a party. Not a divorce party, she'd insisted. A celebration of Naomi's year of transformation. Friends from work, old friends from college, people who'd supported her through the worst and celebrated with her through the best. Naomi wore a green dress and her favorite heels. She moved through her house greeting guests, accepting congratulations, laughing at stories and jokes. The house rang with voices and music and life. Paul arrived with his wife, bringing expensive wine and warm congratulations. Cameron showed up with detailed reports on the Atlanta property, because even at parties they couldn't quite turn off their work minds. Janelle danced in the living room while Rita held court in the kitchen. Around midnight, when most guests had left, Naomi stood on her back porch with Janelle and Rita. They looked out at her small garden, the one Rita had helped her plant in the spring. 1 year ago, I was checking my husband into a hotel with his mistress, Naomi said quietly. Today, I'm a partner in a hotel chain with 5 properties and plans for more. Life is strange. Life is full of possibilities, Rita corrected. You just had to get rid of dead weight to see them. Do you ever regret it? Janelle asked. Walking away instead of trying to work it out? Never. Not once. He showed me exactly who he was. I believed him and acted accordingly. And now you're thriving, Rita said. Now I'm thriving, Naomi agreed. They stood in comfortable silence, watching stars appear in the clear night sky. Tomorrow Naomi would review expansion plans for the Phoenix Hotel. Next week she'd tour a potential property in Boston. Next month she'd celebrate her 35th birthday surrounded by people who genuinely cared about her. Her life was full. Rich. Exactly what she'd built it to be. Sterling had taken a lot from her. 7 years. Trust. Money. Innocence about human nature. But he'd also given her something unexpected. Clarity. Strength. The knowledge that she could face the worst and come through it stronger. That she could build a life entirely on her own terms. And that life, Naomi thought as she looked around at her home, her family, her future, was absolutely magnificent. What are you thinking about? Rita asked. How grateful I am. For all of this. For you too. For the career I've built. For the person I've become. You were always this person, Janelle said. You just had to remember. Later, after everyone had left and Rita had gone to the guest room, Naomi walked through her quiet house. She straightened pillows on her blue couch. Washed the last few glasses in her kitchen. Locked the doors and turned off the lights. In her bedroom, she changed into comfortable pajamas and climbed into her bed with ocean blue walls surrounding her. Tomorrow was Sunday. She had no plans except maybe reading in the garden and reviewing the Boston property files. A quiet day. A peaceful day. A day entirely her own. Her phone sat on the nightstand, silent. No unknown numbers calling. No desperate texts. No manipulation or lies or betrayal. Just peace. And possibility. And the quiet certainty that she'd chosen the right path. Naomi closed her eyes and smiled. 1 year ago her life had shattered. Today she'd built something better from the pieces. And tomorrow she'd keep building. Keep growing. Keep becoming more fully herself with every choice, every day, every moment of freedom. The nightmare was over. The dream was just beginning. And Naomi Bennett, hotel executive, business partner, and fiercely independent woman, was ready for absolutely everything that came next.